In today's lesson, or actually this entire week, you're going to practice finding surface area of a variety of figures. Today you're working with prisms, so you'll see three different types technically. You will see prisms that have square bases, rectangular bases, and triangular bases. All right, when you're working with these square bases and the rectangular bases, it doesn't, or the formula ends up being the same for both of those. Okay, but before we get started, let's talk about surface area slightly. What's helped me to always understand what surface area is I imagine, what if I needed to cover this figure with something like wrapping paper or material. However, I wanted it to look nice and neat, so I didn't want any overlapping. I wanted it to be really smooth. The entire surface covered, real smooth. Well, the total amount of paper or material that I would use is my surface area. So surface area is the total area of the outside of the figure. Okay, so now when we're working with rectangular and square prisms, if you look at that figure, we could stand that thing on any one of those sides. So technically it doesn't matter what you decide the base is. So when I'm working with these, I always say the base is whatever they do have it setting on, because it doesn't matter. So I'm going to look at that base. That means I'm going to call the 7 my length, and then I need to figure out what is this length. So I need to find another side that's equal to that. There it is. So that tells me that this is also 7, because I found that number right there. So it actually has a square base, even though it doesn't really look like it. Okay, so I'm going to call that 7 my width. Now my height then would be these 4, so that will be my height. So now my formula says I need to find the length times the width, width times the height, length times the height, add them together, and then I'm going to double it. Basically what's going to happen is I'm going to find, let me switch colors, I'm going to find the area of the base, I'm going to find the area of one of these sides, and one of these sides, but since there's 2 of everything, that's why we're going to double it at the end after I add those together. All right, so area is equal to, I'm going to double at the end. First I need to find length times width, so that's going to be 7 times 7. Then I'm going to add that to width times height, 7 times 4. Then I'm going to add that to length times height, so 7 times 4 again. All right, so let's go ahead and simplify this. Working inside the parentheses first, I get 49 here. I'm going to add that to 28 and add that to 28. So now I need to figure out what's 49 plus 28 plus 28. So I'm going to come off here to the side. And what have I got? 17 and 25, 6, 10. Okay, so 105. So area is equal to double 105. So my area ends up being 210 miles, and surface area is the same measurement of area, it's squared. All right, now let's look at a triangular prism. On this one, it does matter what the base is. I cannot really stand that up on any side. If it's a triangular prism, the shape tells you what our base is. So I have to make these triangles the base. I have to. So my figure says I need to do the base times the height of the triangle is what the formula says. Then I'm going to add that to the perimeter of the triangle times the height. And it's because if I were to unfold this thing, let's imagine I make a cut. I'm going to change colors right here. And I unfold it. I would have these 3 sides. This one, and then this big side, and then this one here. It would unfold and be one large rectangular. So the perimeter of that triangle is going to give me the length of that rectangle, and then my height will give me my width of the rectangle. Okay? All right, so now if this is the base, it's not setting on the base, is it? So imagine if it was sitting on the base, this 12 is actually my height of the figure. And this H should actually be a big H so that we don't get them confused. Now let's look at the triangle, find the height of the triangle. I'm going to have to erase some of what I've done so that I can see it. Okay, so remember, find that right symbol. So height of the triangle, I'm going to call it, I can call it the 8, so little h there, and then that makes that the base. Okay, the 10 would be my hypotenuse, which would be the other side of the triangle, which is going to be needed in the perimeter. All right, so let's go ahead and set this one up. I do base times height, so 6 times 8. Add that to the perimeter of the triangle. So this is a 10. I need to do 10 plus 6 plus 8. And then that's going to get multiplied by the height of the prism, which is 12. So let's go ahead and do this. 6 times 8 is 48. I need to do what's inside of that parentheses first. 10 plus 6 plus 8 is, let's see here, 24 times 12. Okay, so now we got to follow order of operations. Multiplication first. So 24 times 12 is 288. Then we need to add this to the 48. And we add that together, we find out the total surface area is 336 inches squared.